We're good.
We're good? Okay, thanks, Eve. We'll call the meeting to order. It's 12:30 p.m. We'll do a roll call. So Director Zerwin is here. Matt,
Yeah, but I'm not voting, so.
okay,
Want me to do it?
sure.
That was 3 enough.
Lemonade, number.
Similar, no contact.
Just your last name's okay. Member Barman,
Here.
Member Gorski,
Here.
Member Kramer,
Yes.
and Member Romanelli is absent today.
Okay, we have a quorum.
Yay.
All right. Item number 3, Chairman's remarks. I do not have any. Item 4, public comment. There is no public present. Item 5 is the approval of the minutes from the Tuesday, June 2nd meeting. Can I get a motion to approve?
Motion. Second.
Okay. Motion by Eric, second by Matt. Those in favor, aye.
Oh, I got a roll call.
Oh, that's right.
I'm rolling, hold on.
ADD.
Okay, so Member Kramer,
Yes.
Member Barman,
Yes.
Member Gorski,
Yes.
Member Haight.
Yes.
Okay, unanimous.
Item 6A, the radio maintainer report. I need a motion to place this report on file. Make a motion.
I'll second.
All right. Roll call.
You're gonna like this, aren't you? All right, Member Gorski,
Yes.
Member Kramer,
Yes.
Barman,
Yes.
Member Haight,
Yes.
all in favor.
Yes. All right, 7A. Let's see, this is interoperable radio system talk groups access for the Canadian Pacific Police Service. This item was forwarded to the PAC on behalf of ACDC. They're going to contract with the Canadian Pacific Police. They have about 5 or 6 officers that work in the Northern District. They're here most of the time, and they expect to be on the system about 5 to 6 times a week in total. All they want to do is they want to run license plates,
Leads.
criminal histories, leads, yeah. So,
So you do a motion, a second, and then any discussion.
okay,
A motion.
motion by Matt Barman,
I'll second.
second by Eric. Okay, discussion on that item?
Just for the record, that this has gone through a 14-day notification with no response. So I think that's the only other thing we have to cover.
All right, then
Ready for roll call?
roll call, please.
Member Barman,
Yes.
Member Kramer,
Yes.
Member Gorski,
Yes.
Member Haight.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you. All right, item 8.1. This is to adopt the policy for the DuPage Emergency Dispatch Interoperable Radio Wave application. So,
Motion, second, discussion.
okay, need a motion to discuss it.
A
Motion to
motion.
Second. All right. On the discussion then.
So I sent you some recommended changes and some questions as well submitted by one of the board members, which caused us to, I believe we pulled it off the agenda. We didn't table it just in case you needed more, give us a little bit more time. So I guess I'll start with, is there any questions as to the suggested changes made in the policy? It's hard to read and look and see.
No.
We got nothing.
Okay. Are you guys gonna make this easy? Okay. And then in looking over the notes section that I gave you, were there any comments or answers to that? I think most of the modifications or the questions are taken care of by the modifications. I'll put it that way. Does that make sense? But I'm open to whatever.
No, I thought they were, I thought the changes were fine.
the sticking point, I know everyone's always worried about. I think my biggest concern will remain with the Wave app of it's not first responder critical infrastructure. I understand the whole priority thing, but if a cell site has an issue, it's going to drop that Wave app, right? Like there's nothing we can do about it. So that's maybe the only other wording I see is maybe worth calling out is because you're using the cellular infrastructure, you're not using this dedicated radio public safety grade system. You are talking to it, but that's why I don't think we want used on, SWAT or something to be used in the field.
So the question I have in how, I think you're right. I think the question becomes operationally, those things, are those things covered in the STARCOM forms? I'm trying to remember. I was going to take a look at that this morning and I got distracted. I mean, we could include a sheet that says something like, because we're asking people to understand that they've read all of these things too. So I don't know how you would want to incorporate. Did you have a suggestion as to how you wanted to incorporate that?
I just think it could be added as a one-liner after where you say it's not the priority. It's kind of or they don't have the highest priority. I think it's also our concern that it's not on mission critical infrastructure or dedicated mission critical infrastructure. It was at the end of just before the section 2 where it says application procedures, like that paragraph just above it.
Say one more time, there a little background noise.
In the policy statement, so it's the last paragraph of the policy statement above application procedure. You say ETSB does not recommend this app for first responders being dispatched to emergency calls because it has lower priority in STARCOM 21 system than the main dispatch talk groups. I think it also relies on public infrastructure or non-dedicated mission critical infrastructure, something along those lines. Because it's using stuff that's outside of Motorola's control.
So if we said ETSB blah, 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 because it has a lower priority in the STARCOM 21 system than the main dispatch talk groups because it relies on public infrastructure, not the private STARCOM system. More?
Sure. So yeah, something like that will work.
Or more, or?
No, I just think it's calling out the fact that this is using something that's not for first responders. So if the cell carrier that this Wave app is using goes down, there's nothing we can do about it. Whereas like Motorola can respond when a radio site goes down and they can go fix it.
Okay, so we could add not the private STARCOM system. Okay, what do we say because it relies on public infrastructure, which Motorola does not control, not the private STARCOM system?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that it? Sounds like it. So we are ready
I think so.
to send this back to.
I think we need to, Matt, would you have time to help me with answering some of these responses then?
Yeah, the only one I saw that wasn't answered was the Wave app. The ID will not show up in the radio. You'll get the 6-digit number that the Wave app users assigned, not the alias. So we haven't programmed any wave app aliases in radios. So that could be a discussion for next touch if you want the wave app alias to be programmed in radios or not. But it should just, you'll get a 6-digit number that corresponds with that wave app user.
Okay, so maybe we can get together and just make sure we cover all those bases before the meeting.
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay.
Shove it through this time. Okay,
Oh, wait. So do we need a,
so no other comments, or do you want me to, are you comfortable with me just making this change as stated, or do you want to see it again?
I'm fine.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine with it.
Good.
Okay, so now we're ready. Are we ready for a roll call vote?
I believe so.
So the motion is to approve the policy as amended by Matt Barman. So Member Barman,
Yes.
Member Gorski,
Yes.
Member Kramer,
Yes.
Member Hayes.
Yes.
Okay, that is a unanimous of 4.
All right, item 9, DDoS replacement.
Okay, so we're working on, the board has, the ETS board's gonna have some discussion on radio replacement. So I've asked the police and fire reps of PAC and ETSB to kind of facilitate some things for me. And then, that'll be the groundwork and make some decisions. And then I had this epiphany blonde moment and I realized that by inviting the PAC members, I have a quorum. So I'll have to work through the state's attorney's office with that. But, it seems like we have the structure there, whether we have some subcommittees or not, to start there, because, our process right now with whether we create a focus group or not, but I feel like that's kind of the focus group, bringing it back to those operational groups with input and things like that. So, right now we have fire focus group and CAD and the tech group, and we do these memos and we bring them forward up, if it would need to, in this case, PAC would be part of that, and then up to the ETS board for decisions. So I'm going to start there with those chiefs and then move from, wherever you're bringing it back to your PSAP groups to say, what's the feedback? Do we need more or less or whatever, but, coming up to that group as opposed to long involved things, because, the police have wanted GPS or encryption, thank you. Encryption, and, the state's got guidelines on that, so it's not something that needs a decision. So we're gonna need decisions on, certain pieces of equipment, Motorola, yes or no. There's infinitely more questions on the fire side in terms of, the things that didn't go well last time and how we move forward. And then there's end of life on, so the equipment's, the 7,000s haven't been sold for a couple of years. So you're either going to go 6,000, 8,000. Fire's going to need 8,000 because they're going to need dual band for the foreseeable future. And then, let's switch that. So you have these end of life things in 22 or 23. And it really comes down to, and the disappointing part is it comes down to the fact that, whether or not you can get parts, because they're not, so I'm working on trying to figure out from Motorola what the stockpile, because the biggest thing we have going right now are top assemblies. And so, yes, aside from planned obsolescence, it's also, in the top assembly, that's parts made by third-party vendors. So if a third-party vendor stops making a whatchamajiggy, then that changes things. So, and those, what they're saying in the support memos are 22 or 23 or as supplies last. So we, because we're such a large group, need to start talking about this now, because the ETS board's going to need direction on, this could at a retail price be 22 to 24 million dollars if you're adding encryption and multi-key in order to make that happen and some other things. So, start now so we're not racing to finish, do something at a comfortable pace for once. So, because like I said, we're gonna, need to look at some of the issues with fire and how we do that and get a chance to have input in what we might need to change. So I'm starting with a basic document and then we'll go from there. So I just wanted to kind of put that out there because this is really the core of what this particular advisory group was doing. So it seems reasonable that, we start with the chiefs and then, whether or not we bring that in as, it's a chief's decision, what kind of toy they want. So, and then, it's going to go to the tech committee and some things like that, or the tech focus group and stuff like that. So that's kind of where we're at.
So can you have the preliminary ready for us on August 4th then to start talking about it, putting it together?
I'm almost done with some of it now. I just needed, I needed a little bit of additional information on some retail pricing so you could get an idea. Because one of the larger questions and one of the things that gives me heartburn is ETSB bought around 2,500 radios. There's more radios than that in the system that people have purchased. So the question is, what's the impact to the users who bought those? What's the impact to the system if you go encryption and you've got a 7,000 that doesn't have that on the extras that you bought? So there's going to be some logistical issues here that have to be discussed that we need to figure out from a technical standpoint and things like that.
Okay.
So, it'll be a preliminary draft so that you can tear it apart and then, add, delete, gives you an idea of things you want to think about, what else you might need to do. And then as I've been working through it, there are survey questions and the county has people who can do a nice survey monkey. We saw that with the RMS survey. So they can set that up for us and we can send it out and get the feedback and then it'll get at least a baseline of where you want to go from there.
When do you need it finished for your budget prep in December or something like that?
So the ETS board's looking at capital requests. They will be, they're probably going to talk about revenue first. But they need to submit a budget, which we already kind of gave them the operational budget. So they're really just now talking about capital projects. So August, September, they need to finalize a budget by, October. So we have a little bit of time on a recommendation. And, on a recommendation, it's really just a matter of setting the money aside as to, where we're at. So, and we can always put a budget number in whether or not we go forward with it or when we decide to purchase. So, but we're talking 2,500 to 3,000 radios. So, and then you can kick the can down the road a little bit. It's just a matter of at some point with that supply chain thing, I don't know, and I don't know how people feel about it, but I'd rather we start talking about it now and make some conscious decisions. Because I felt like last time it was really kind of, I know it had been going on for a long time before I got here, but it got a little, it was tight. So, although I think we have great takeaways from that to make this process a lot smoother. So, I mean, we have everybody's old inventory list that we can remind them what they had or what we provided, so there's going to be big questions on that too. Well, what do we do with the 7,000s till they die? But how does that work into the system if you don't want to spend $900 for encryption and multi-key for a 7,000 radio? I don't know. Or is it worth it locally to put $800, $900 into a radio that you're going to have until it dies? I don't know. I mean, that's a local question,
Yeah. Okay.
So I don't know. So that's just the kickoff of replacement radios and where we're at because the board wants to consider that because, it's a big ticket item.
Right. All right.
It's a big ticket item. So
Any other questions for Linda on that? No. All right. Item 10 is old business. I don't have anything. Does anyone else have anything? No. No? Okay.
I was just gonna ask, I know a couple meetings ago, we talked about, like Bluetooth accessories and stuff like that. We were gonna test some of that stuff out. I don't ever know where that ended up.
We have a Bluetooth accessory I can make available for you to test for a portable, but everyone that's tested it said it's not mission critical.
Oh, okay.
Like if you wear your radio on your hip and your Bluetooth in the other ear, your body can block the frequency. So I do have one that you can test, but most people have come back and said, nah.
Fair enough. I just didn't hear any updates on it. Just didn't know if we were gonna do some or not. But as long as the masses are saying absolutely not, there's no need for me to confirm.
There's definitely more accessories out there. This is just one sample that we had available. So we're up for more if you want, but
Well, we could test it with the 8,000s and the 6,000s too, as we start moving through this. And then would that be a separate code plug if a radio had Bluetooth?
You have to configure the Bluetooth to be on. I don't know if we could get to a place where we could just turn it so it could recognize stuff. But there are, I think there's some work we'd have to do to figure out how we can make it generic enough to make it the same code plug. You may have a Bluetooth on and Bluetooth off version. Like if people aren't using it, you might as well turn it off. But that's something we'd have to look at a little more.
There are configurations and buttons that have to be assigned and different items in the programming that have to be done to make it work.
And I think kind of being behind the 8 ball, if we're already talking about replacing radios, how much time and effort are we going to look into doing this?
Well, we would look at it for the upcoming, right? Deploy again, if you're going to buy it, is it worth doing it in the radio you have now? And then the question is, if we push this off 2 more years, is it worth putting it in any of these things in the radio now? And then my other question on Bluetooth would be, if Eric and I are sharing a radio, because I'm Redshift and he's Gold, and I use a Bluetooth and he doesn't want to, does that make a difference?
The thing would be is if you left it on, you're shortening the battery life, but I don't know that matters. And that's where I would look at, see if we could find a way to generically program the code plug where we can make that work, right? I think that's the research. Like, as John says, there are settings, and I know that there's settings that you can configure buttons to do that, certain things. This question is the device isn't there, the radio can still work, but what does it do does it last the full shift now on a charge? Or does it, what's the side effects, I guess, is what I'd want to know before we said we're a go.
I think we would have to look at the pairing, because generally from my experience, you have to pair it to a particular Bluetooth device because there is a serial encoding that happens with it. So I'm not sure that you could just take a different Bluetooth and then just pair it, on the fly. We'd have to research that.
Okay, something simple.
Yeah.
Well, we should look at it moving forward for the new radios.
On the fire side, whether you're a chief or a probie, you're gonna lose, someone's gonna lose something. I don't know if any fireman, Eric and you can probably speak to this too. I don't know if as a firefighter, we would even be interested in something Bluetooth.
The only time that I would say is under events and things like that you didn't necessarily want the radio on. I know you can probably get the accessory to plug in and put up to your ear. But if you had a Bluetooth that's where I see the biggest benefit is places where you didn't just need the radio jamming.
There are awesome features or awesome things that you can do. They have masks where it can be integrated in the mask, and that's where some of the things people have said. So you can hear the audio once you have all your gear on, much simpler. So I think there are reasons for us to look at it. It's just a matter of, what I'm hearing is the timing with the new radio purchase is probably better than trying to do with what we have here.
if that was gonna be an agency-borne expense, I couldn't imagine that that mask-mounted mic is gonna be cheap either.
I'm not looking. Well, and in the past, so when we did this the last time, if there was a package, right? So you got a portable mic, a radio, a battery, a charger, or gang chargers, you know, a slot for charging, an extra battery, a holster. And then if you wanted a different mic, if the mic was less expensive, you as an agency didn't get any credit to that because ETSB was paying. If it was more, then you paid the over. So, you know, I'm assuming that that would still be in play, but, you know, that would be at board direction. But since it's reimbursable, they generally, you know, on those kind of things don't have much negative comment on that. So it might make something affordable if you're just buying, you know, an upgrade versus, but it's still expensive, you know, and then again, you know, we're changing code books, so. John's already got gray hair, so.
At least he has some.
All right, anything else under old business? All right, item 11, new business. Item 12, our next meeting, August 4th. I don't know. Might be on vacation.
I'm on vacation.
Okay,
I'm good.
all right, well, we'll tentatively set it.
You have 2 on vacation? Is that what I heard?
August 4th, I'm on vacation. I'm out that week.
Not that week, okay.
Yeah. Well, we'll leave it in there for right now. If it moves closer, if people are gone, we'll just rearrange it.
Are you gone? You don't know yet.
I don't know yet.
Okay, so we're only missing one and we don't know about
I
Anthony.
think I'll be back.
So it would just be Barman at this point. And then we'll check with Romanelli, and if there's 2, then you're free to reconsider.
All right, last item, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
All right, thanks, everybody.
I don't think we, yeah, all in favor, aye. I don't think we need a roll call for that.
And it's yes for everybody.
Raise your hands. Thank you.
See you guys later.
Have a good day, everybody.
Good meeting. Yep.